I'm going to go ahead and start. Do a continue to welcome everyone and good afternoon, and thank you for being here and joining us today for How to Plan a Wedding Post-COVID, sponsored by The Hotel at the University of Maryland. Please allow me to introduce myself. I am Rhonda White, Director of Sales and Marketing here at the Samuel Riggs Alumni Center, located on the campus of the University of Maryland. And I have the privilege and the honor of being the moderator this afternoon. Just a few housekeeping notes before we get started. This event is being recorded and you have been placed on mute, and please continue to stay on mute for the duration of the event. If you have questions during the event, we encourage you to use the chat feature at the bottom of your screen. We will be checking the chat throughout the panel for questions. So that you are able to see all of our panelists, I recommend that you view in the speaker view, which is a button located on the top right corner of your screen. Also, we will be drawing our raffle prize winner within 1 week of today. And we will contact the winner via email and/or phone. And as a reminder, the prize includes the Samuel Riggs IV Alumni Center venue rental package, a one-night stay at the hotel at the University of Maryland, a 5-hour day of coordination in custom 18 by 24 acrylic wedding welcome sign by Perfectly Elegant Designs, bar snacks, token wedding cake, and late night snacks by The Classic Catering People, a $100 travel voucher through AESU Travel. Please refer to our website for terms and conditions of the prize. This prize must be redeemed by March 31st, 2022. And now, let me introduce our distinguished panelists. I would like to start with our sponsor, Cecily Moorhead, Director of Catering and Conference Services from The Hotel at the University of Maryland. Cecily will also share with us a few words about The Hotel.
Hello, welcome. As Rhonda mentioned, I'm Cecily Moorhead, Director of Catering Conference Services at the Hotel at the University of Maryland. We are located just adjacent to the University of Maryland. Some of you might not have seen the building. It did open at the end of 2017. Gorgeous new building. We have just under 300 guest rooms and just over 45,000 square feet of space with 4 gorgeous ballrooms. We do a lot of UMD alumni weddings here, probably about 50%. And we look forward to speaking with you and hosting you sometime.
Thank you, Ms. Cecily. Up next is Larry Frank, Partner and Vice President of The Classic Catering People, which is one of our catering partners here at the Alumni Center. Larry is also an alum of Maryland. Larry, please introduce yourself.
Well, thank you. Good morning. And I guess as much as anything, thank you to the Alumni Association and the other panelists for encouraging gatherings once again. The lack of gatherings impacted all of us for a lot of reasons. And I think for today, we're going to kind of talk forward. But thank you, and thank you to those that have signed up for the webinar to be gathering in the future. It's very encouraging. I am part of a 4-generation Turk family. My business has been around for almost 40 years. The company name is The Classic Catering People. We keep people as a key part of the name because that is the core of our business. The engagement in hospitality is certainly a people process. Everything we do is off-premise catering. We don't own and operate any of our venues. We rely on venues such as the Samuel Riggs Alumni Center and other attractions, museums, private homes around the Baltimore, Washington, Virginia area. Corporate catering, social catering, nonprofit catering. You've heard the words micro wedding. We like to call them boutique weddings. So any catering gathering of any size, we pride ourselves in taking care of. Welcome.
Thank you, Larry. Our next panelist is Vera Ingram, Executive Director from AESU Alumni World Travel, one of the Alumni Association's travel and tour operators. Vera, please introduce yourself.
Good day, everybody. Thank you for inviting me and including me in your event today. We are a tour operator and we are located in Baltimore, Maryland, and we've been in business for 45 years. the University of Maryland Alumni Association is one of our oldest partners. They actually pioneered in offering graduation trips to their seniors, as well as young alumni trips to their young alumni. So we have a lot of trips lined up for 2022, something interesting for everyone, I hope. And there are also some trips left for 2021 if you're interested. And if you should win the travel voucher, you can apply that towards your trip that you would book.
Thank you, Vera. We are excited to get back to the world as we know it. Our next panelist is Jacqueline Brodis, owner and lead planner from the Perfectly Elegant Designs. Jacqueline is an alumna and a partner of the Riggs Alumni Center. Jacqueline, please tell us about yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me today. I'm really thrilled to be here and greeting the panelists and all of our guests. As you said, I am a proud graduate of the University of Maryland College Park with a degree in fashion merchandising, which enhanced my love for textiles and design. Perfectly Elegant Designs is a luxury planning and design company, and we specialize in personalized and curated events for our clients. And we've been planning events and designing events for well over 20 years. And after retiring from my government job, decided to open about 6.5 years ago officially as a business. So we look forward to serving you. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jacqueline. Excuse me. And lastly, but certainly not least, we have a very special couple joining us today, Ricarlo and Karina Applewhite. They are newlyweds and recently married at the Riggs Alumni Center. Ricarlo and Karina are both alumni. And please introduce yourself and do not leave out your love story.
So I'm Ricarlo Applewhite. I'm a University of Maryland alumni from class of 2012. Go Terps.
Yep, and I'm Karina Applewhite. I am class of 2010, and we got married on May 15th at the University of Maryland. Our ceremony was at the chapel on campus, and then our reception was at the Riggs Alumni Center. And our love story, the way that we met, we actually met after graduating. So I was 2010, he was 2012. I lived in New York at the time, and we first met at after a Terps basketball game at Barclays Center. It was not love at first sight. So it took another 4 years for us to be paired up at our best friend's wedding. They are also Terps. And that is when we started dating. So 5 years now this past May, and we've been married for 2 months today. So 8 weeks in, but really wanted to thank Rhonda for inviting us to be here, as well as the Alumni Association. We are so happy to share anything and everything that we know about our planning experience. And just want you all to know that the wedding it's a big day. It is an important day, but it's just one day within your love story, and whatever we can do to help, we're happy to be here and happy to help.
Thank you, and thank you for sharing your story. And thank you, everyone. We are now living in a world of uncertainty and trying to reconnect with our loved ones and get back to some sense of normalcy. With restrictions lifting and mask mandates changing constantly and businesses reopening up, the wedding industry is booming. So I'm very excited about that. And many of you have already started or restart planning your dream day. I thought we would start out with one quick poll question to gauge our audience and see what's on your mind in terms of wedding and planning. We can start our poll question. And I'll just give you a few minutes to answer that. You guys are quick, are moving quickly. This is exciting. This is like at the races, right? Like which is gonna come in first? Who's coming in? All right, 0 to 3, 4 to 6, 7 to 1 year. I've always wanted to do that, so please thank you for indulging me. So it looks like our audience, most of us are planning from 7 months to 1 year from now, which is a great lead time, I would have to say, as a venue operator. Cecily, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we see a little of everything. We definitely have folks that are calling us, and we just put out a contract today for November. And then we've got folks calling us for 2023. So there's a little of everything in there. I think the best thing is to do what feels comfortable for you. I always say that you have to enjoy the process, and it shouldn't be stressful. There are enough stressors that are going to come into it that you should make it what it needs to be for you, and give yourself the time that you need without putting external pressure on yourself. So really, whatever fits your world and fits your schedule and fits your life is best. And there isn't a right or a wrong in that process.
Well, I think that is excellent advice. So I'm going to just toss this over, and I just want the audience to know that we did not pre-prepare. No one knows who I'm asking questions to. So they are really telling you, speaking from the heart, right? And giving you sincere advice. So I'm going to ask Miss Jacqueline, what is she finding with her couples that are contacting her for event planning, day of coordination, and how far out are they booking you?
It's about the same time, and people, well, we're also getting people who had to postpone their wedding, as you know, because of COVID. And so they're trying to find dates now. And it's difficult finding some dates because everybody, now that things are opening up, things are filling up very quickly. So the thing is if you know the time you want to be married, to jump on that date, and especially finding a venue, because some of the venues that you thought that you were going to be at, you now can't because somebody else has picked that date. So you have to have a little bit of flexibility in that and not be disappointed in that, because now everything is opening and everybody is just picking dates. And maybe you thought you would do September, maybe consider later on, or maybe a little bit earlier. So just to have flexibility, I think is the big key in all of this. But as Cecily said, you want to have fun in this process. You don't want it to be a headache. You don't want it to be a weight. You just want to enjoy the moment, because it's really about you, and it's really about having your friends and family with you.
Excellent. And Larry, what are you finding out? How soon should people be contacting a caterer?
The timing that from our perspective is similar. The caterer is either your first call because you want the caterer as your primary choice and then work with the caterer to find your venue, or oftentimes we are part of the supply chain as any other wedding vendor would be. So for example, probably 20% of our weddings, we're contacted first by either the couple or the planner, and they look for our availability, and that could be 30, 60 days, or as Cecily mentioned, into 2023. The rest of the time, we kind of pick up where the family has already started, and they've found the venue already, and then we come in as one of the amenities. So there's times that we're in very last minute, and more often than not, we're in in the 4 to 14-month range is when they want to talk to their caterer. What's important is find that venue and then enjoy the process, as Jacqueline mentioned, of sourcing your vendors. For the Riggs Alumni Center, for example, if that's the right space for you based on date and size, they have a wonderful list of caterers, many of my peers that work there. So that could be the fun part of the beginning, the fun part of the process of looking at the different caterers.
Excellent. So Ms. Vera, the world is opening up and people want to travel. So are people planning their honeymoons, you think, in that same time frame, or are they coming in, or is it a shorter planning process? What are you seeing in your area?
Yeah, so we're definitely seeing, because the press has been telling everybody there's going to be pent-up demand. So we're definitely seeing people plan earlier than they have in the past. And we have found, personally as a tour operator, that some hotels are filling up. So I think it's good. And I think I second what Jacqueline said, be a little bit flexible. You may not want to go on a honeymoon immediately after your wedding. So you can plan a little bit further out. Also, the hotels and a lot of airlines are still flexible with their changing cancellation policies. So you don't need to be too shy to book something, if you wanted to a certain date, but flexibility definitely is key. But the world is opening up, so we can go. So this is a good part. Yeah.
Excellent. So, and then I'm going to say who are the experts in this area right now, Karina and Ricarlo, because you just went through it. So if you could talk about your planning process, because I know it started prior to COVID and then you had to do some pivoting. If you could talk about that.
Yeah, I felt like when we booked everything, we got engaged July 2019. And so we really took the fall to start to explore vendors and set up meetings. I am the type of person that had everything planned in my mind 5 years ago. So I kind of had a list of who I wanted to connect with. But I think going off what Cecily and Jacqueline said, it's be flexible, but also enjoy this process and this time. For us, we did have about almost 2 years to plan our wedding with COVID right in the middle, and everything panned out the way that it was supposed to. But I think for us initially sitting down and saying, what is important to us within this? Is it we must have this date or time of the year? Is it we definitely want this space or this caterer? And trying to make your list of things that you as a couple want and kind of stick to that as you go through and meet with vendors. I think it's our experience with Riggs, and Rhonda is not paying me to say this, but one of the experiences that we had was we visited Riggs and we were ready to make our decision, and Rhonda said, I'm not having you do anything until you are comfortable with our catering list and that you find a caterer that you love and that you want on your day, because food was top priority for us. And having that excellent guest experiences, we've just felt so well taken care of in that moment that this part matters, and being able to work with your vendors to determine your priorities and your wants and your wishes, and then maybe those things that are maybe not a priority, and being able to kind of hold on to that throughout the process, whatever your timeline is.
I think that's excellent. Ricarlo, I wanted to make sure, because I have to, this is a shameless story. So when they came in for their site visit, Ricarlo was so sweet. He just sat back, he had a book, and he just listened. He didn't really interject. So that's I'm going to give you that tip. If there's any grooms to be, call Ricarlo for some tips.
Hey, I'm easy. But it really helped working with like the vendors that we had. It was a pleasure working with all of them, and I think that's really something that would be worth taking into account. The people that you work with, not just the food or the space, but the vendors that you work with. So it's good to have a good relationship with them, because you're working with them directly. You're giving them calls, sending them emails, reaching out to them about details. Having to deal with COVID, things were changing, and we didn't know like a month or two beforehand what it was going to look like. So it was really helpful that we had this relationship with our vendors, that we could reach out to them and we felt comfortable talking to them. So that I think that's something that's really important to take into consideration.
And your vendors want the best for you and for your day. They want your day to go well. They want you as this couple coming together to have a stress-free day, and being able to form that relationship where you can trust and lean into that was really important for me as a planner and as a type A, was to hand things over when I needed to and just trust the professionals as caterers, as DJs, as event managers, to really kind of take their strengths and really make their work shine throughout your day.
Excellent. Thank you for that. I'm going to ask for our second poll question, and let's see what some concerns are on our audience's mind. Don't be shy, audience. This is interesting. I don't know if you all can see that as the polls are coming in, but are people changing their minds? This is interesting. This is not, I'm telling you, your answers are not what I thought they were going to be, but very impressed with what you're selecting. So, believe it or not, budget, it seems to be the majority of the concerns, right? Like, how much are they spending? And maybe that is due to COVID, people are being more conscious of their dollars. I'm gonna ask Vera, as a travel expert, are you finding that people are like, oh, we want more packages, more bang for their buck? What are you seeing?
Yeah, so I mean, it's really a great mix because everybody's budget is different, everybody's taste is different. And because it's a special occasion, I think people are more inclined to, spend a little bit more money on the destination of their choosing. However, talking about some people that are more concerned with the budget, that we see people booking into itineraries that are definitely more value price, I want to say, so definitely seeing people looking at itineraries that have a lot of inclusions, that feature the itineraries that they want, include meals, things like that. So I definitely can say overall, people are looking for a bigger bang for the buck. Yeah.
Excellent. And Larry, what are you finding in catering? Because I know that catering can be a big part of the wedding budget. Are we doing anything to help folks, relief or special menus? What are you guys doing?
Well, what's interesting is the budget question is a critical one. And I think it's the uncertainty when those questions are asked. I think the unknown, if you've never purchased a wedding and know all the components engaged with it, I think it's the uncertainty of budget. And then of course it is the actual dollars associated with it. We have always tried to gather the information from our guests so that the vision that they want, but not disregard or judge based on the budget. I will say to clients, let's talk about what you want financially earlier on in the process than many do. And it's not because I'm trying to vet them in or out as a good client. I just want them to know that it's okay and it's comfortable to talk about budget. It's a real part of any decision that's being made. Mm-hmm. So right now, some of the things that we're doing for people and recommending is ways that you can help your budget in regards to the catering is the length of your party. Labor in our industry is an extraordinarily high percentage of costs. And some of the weddings we do, the labor could be 40% of my total catering bill to you. So if you can go with a 4-hour affair versus a 5 or a 6, if you've already been married and you are planning on maybe just doing a renewal renew your vows, maybe you get away with a 3-hour, lovely, wonderful cocktail party. So if you can keep the time of your affair less, that's an important component. And then when you look for venues, you've got to try to find venues, in my opinion, that have as many amenities as possible. And I use the word amenities as inclusives. Do the venues have, as the Riggs does, and as the hotel does, they have the tables, they have the chairs, they have a kitchen space allocated for the caterer, they have accessible parking, they have good lighting. So shop your venue based on what's included in that price. Because before you really decide, where you're going to spend your money on your food or your bar or your color of linen, if you can start with the right time of party and the venue that has as many inclusive components, you're ahead of the game. And I think that's an important part of it from a budget standpoint.
That's an excellent point, Larry. Jacqueline, what are you finding? Are you doing creative ways with budgets? Are people coming at you? Like, help me.
Yeah. Well, you have to, that's the one thing. First of all, have a budget. You have to have a budget. You have to have some idea what you would like to spend. And, COVID has pivoted everything for everyone. People are trying to, recoup some of the losses. And, but also people were wanting to get out. They're wanting to do things together. But the one thing that has helped with this planning process is that you can not necessarily have as many people in person as you can have, virtual. So you can do a mix of both, which that kind of helps with your budget. And it also helps us as creators and designers to be more creative in designing how your event goes. So you can do just a number of things to decrease your budget and the planning for people. Again, Larry was right on point with what he was saying, is that finding stuff that is inclusive and packages, and different venues are trying to put together packages, and they want to work with you and and work with planners, take your day special, because they know everybody, they still want that that event, that wedding, to be what they've always envisioned, they'd always dreamed. And COVID just put a little glitch in it, but you can still have an amazing wedding, even if you do a hybrid wedding where you have partial virtual, and then you have the other part in person. It can still be amazing. They can still have the same experience, because we do have, older people who cannot travel. We have people who are sick and they may not be able to travel, but you still want to give them the experience of a lovely time and being able to interact with you. And that's what we're being able to do now for them.
That is excellent. And Cicely, I'm going to pivot a little bit from the budget question to talk about dates and availability, because I think that kind of goes hand in hand. Is it a better time of year to book based on your budget and dates and availability? What are your thoughts, or what are you seeing at the hotel?
Yes, absolutely. So it was mentioned earlier that some of the dates that people want, we took our 2019 couples and we moved them to 2020, and then we moved them to 21. So there is definitely compression on those dates. But even broader than that, when you're looking at a budget, and it's so important to know what you're working with, and to share that with your vendor team, because for instance, you might be just in love with one of our spaces and you can't afford it maybe on Saturday in June. But you know what? We might be able to get you in on a Sunday, or maybe March, or so understanding and sharing with your vendors what your budgets are. We can brainstorm with you how to be flexible, how to get what you want, and get it into your budget. So that dialogue is really important. And I think that goes into the dates that you're talking about. Flexibility is important, because your caterer or your planner or your venue might be booked. So having options, having maybe just going in with a season, or having dates that won't work, will let your vendor team suggest alternatives, so that we can all work together, because getting everyone aligned with these very tight schedules sometimes is difficult.
Excellent. And Karina, Ricarlo, do you have anything to talk about dates and availability? What were your experience maybe with your vendors?
I think for us, I'm actually going to go back to the budget question. And I think sometimes you feel a pressure to have this cookie cutter wedding. I've got to have the cake, I've got to have the open bar, I've got to have this, that, and the other. And you've seen the checklist that tell you, okay, you've got to do this 6 months out, you've got to book this one 6 months out. And I think we're in a space which is really fantastic now, that you don't have to do any of that. You don't have to have a cake. You don't have to do the garter toss. You don't have to toss your bouquet. You don't have to do anything. And so it really lends itself to a space where you can really be creative, and that also helps with budget. So creating those priorities and things, those must-haves, and then kind of tearing it down from that way. Ricarlo, for some reason, does not eat cake, and so he doesn't like it. We weren't looking to spend our money on it. but he still loves so we love like cinnamon rolls. And if you've ever been in Baltimore, there's a place called Cinnaholic where you can it's like Chipotle, but for cinnamon rolls. So for our wedding, we did a cinnamon roll bar, which our caterer had never done before, but they had done station desserts. And so we kind of talked about our vision and things like that. And that really worked well for us. It worked well in a space where we weren't sure if we could have dancing. And so for guests to get up and do something and move around and have this moment where they're creating something special for themselves, just kind of remember that as you go through the very formal checklist and the must-dos, because you don't have to do anything but be there with the person that you love. And ultimately, people just want to party and have fun with you. And then I think in terms of budget, talking about the budget, for us, unfortunately, COVID kind of helped there because we weren't traveling and going places. But it was a constant monthly, weekly conversation about where are we, where do we need to dial back, where can we push a little bit more, and also being realistic with ourselves and our timeline.
Excellent. Excellent. And I'm not going to put anyone on the spot this time, but I am going to ask, for the audience's sake, what trends is any one of our vendors seeing with COVID weddings, if we can even call them that? Can anyone jump in?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I actually think we're really past the design elements are different. I will tell you the focus, as Karina mentioned, it is your own day. So the ones that we're doing now, so since maybe June and what's on the books through maybe September, October, it is all about the first gathering of these people as a family, an extended family being together. So it is, what can we do to allow as much time as possible to engage with each other? A little less structure, than is traditional, so that people can just have hugs and kisses and chit chats and be a little bit looser than structured. That is definitely trending. And it also it speaks to the budget again, because you don't need some of the formality and some of the what used to be considered must-haves. So trending is definitely gathering time, free time, less structured time at the parties.
Excellent. And Vera, I am going to toss this to you because I saw a question come up in the chat and it just keeps nagging at me. Destination weddings. Are you getting, as a tour operator, and this may be out your wheelhouse, so just let me know. As a tour operator, are you getting any of those calls about destination weddings?
Yeah, I mean, actually, we've been getting those questions throughout in the midst of the pandemic. Obviously, people have moved their dates, as we've heard, and everything has been pushed from 20 to 21 and now into 22. But we've been getting requests for those throughout the pandemic, I have to say. And it's just, been difficult because we've been monitoring the different destinations that people were choosing and seeing, how the countries were opening up. And then at the same token, even if you can travel to a country, that doesn't mean necessarily everything is open. So not all the restaurants are open and not all the hotels are open. So it's definitely, I would say there's demand, but it's, it has not been possible, but we've really seen an increase of inquiries for this type of events. Yeah.
And Cecily, I'm going to kind of ask you the same thing. Are people making, because I think Maryland's wonderful, are they making Maryland a destination? Are people trying to be more creative? Are you seeing that?
Yes, we've found that people, I guess there are people who want to do the destination wedding, and but we've also had a noticeable amount of people who thought they were going to have a destination wedding, realized that was a little messier than they wanted to take on, and have decided to stay at home. It's easier. You don't have to, ask family to travel. Not everyone is comfortable traveling yet. Not everyone can travel yet. And so they've opted to stay right in their backyard and make it easy on their guests. And then know that the people they really want around them will be there that day.
Mhm. Jacqueline, what, did I cut you off? Did I see, were you?
Well, I just wanted to go back to you were talking about the trends and everything. I was just at a venue and there was a couple who had married but their reception, they were just having a reception. There was like 350 people. So people are, I think it just kind of depends on, what you want to do. The small weddings is no less valuable and no less beautiful than a large wedding. So it's really all about the person and what they want to do and how they want to come together and bring people together. So
I think that's an excellent point and leads me into my next question. As vendors and also Karina and Ricarlo, what are we doing to make sure that we're hosting our guests safely during this time so people feel comfortable? And maybe I will ask Karina and Ricarlo, are there things that you did to make sure that your guests felt safe?
Yeah, well, actually working with our vendors, it was a real pleasure. We were able to, so we got married in the chapel, and then we went to the Alumni Center. And at the chapel, we had a seating chart for everyone. So everyone's seating was predetermined. Masks, extra masks there for everyone, hand sanitizer for everyone. Everyone had to be masked in the chapel. And at the Alumni Center, because it's such a big venue, we were able to have a lot of people. Well, we pared it down a little bit because some people we didn't want to travel and other people we didn't want to worry about getting sick or anything like that. But we were able to spread everyone out. Had masks there. We had masks when dancing and everything like that. So I felt it was really safe.
Yeah, I think the spaces lended themselves to being able to socially distance things. We were coming off the tail of the mask mandate, and so people weren't sure, like, our masks in or masks out, and kind of setting the tone with our bridal party about what we felt we wanted. And some couples say, you know what, whatever makes the guests feel comfortable. For us, it was keeping our parents and our vulnerable guests safe. But I think because people are so excited to be together, we're just, I think they were like, you know what, whatever's happening, we're just gonna kind of jump in. But the vendors, the spaces, your venues, they have really excellent things in place to keep people safe, and then being able to have a conversation with your partner about, okay, what measures are we putting in place in addition to that for our specific event. And I think that worked out well for us, and we are also excited to just go to weddings now and just be a guest and see what is to come in the future, knowing that you've got a little bit of flexibility there in the way that things are supposed to be. I think there's new trends popping up and ways that couples are making their event special and safe.
And Larry, what about you from the catering perspective?
So Rhonda, we as an industry now, at least in Maryland, we are now we've taken a very I don't want to say relaxed, because I don't want to give anyone the sense of that we're not concerned. But if we're strictly following mask mandates by the CDC, so we ask our guests and our hosts to encourage and support those that have been vaccinated. It's voluntary for those that have not been vaccinated. They're asked to wear a mask. We don't require checking of credentials. We allow the family to decide how they want to communicate the message. So it's a comfortable move forward. The hardest part was probably around the time our couple got married there, because you guys probably had 2 months of not having any idea who was going to make the decisions. In speaking to that, if there is another setback, as an industry, we will be better prepared. We will know what to do a little bit quicker than we did the first time out. We will know which organizations and which associations and jurisdictions to rely on. We now know the right way to do it. But moving forward, and right now, it is simply following the mandates of mask. And our practices as an industry in the food business, we've always been very cautious of sanitation and such. So we didn't have to do a whole lot of changing there, a little bit of reinforcing. So it's a mask mandate or not only, that's it.
Very good.
Brenda, if I could, oh, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Just to jump in, as Larry was saying, you know, I assume and have no reason to doubt that all of us just follow the rules that are being placed out, and Prince George's was extra cautious through all of this, which made me feel really good. But one of the things that we're doing here is really just having that conversation with our clients. There isn't a mask mandate right now for folks that are fully vaccinated, but you know, we ask what people will feel comfortable with. And if someone says, you know, we would like everyone to be masked, we're happy to comply with that. You know, we ask how they feel about sanitation or social distancing tables or even chairs. We're happy. We have all worked through what that looks like, and we know how to do it well. So if someone would feel more comfortable with that, we're happy to continue it. But I think it's a good dialogue to have with all of your vendors, so everyone understands the expectations.
That's an excellent point, Cecily. Jacqueline, do you have anything to add? Are you seeing anything in event trends? Like, are people doing party in the boxes and still, or?
They're doing a little bit of both. And I agree with what Larry and Cecily were saying, that we as well follow the CDC guidelines, and we still wear masks. And it really is up to the individual person, and you want to respect that. Now, we do have a COVID clause in our contract, and we do offer that to our clients. And we also suggest that maybe you might want to send that out to your guests as well, so that they're aware of what you want to have for your wedding event. So we just want to make sure that everyone is informed, you know what you're getting into. And we don't know if there's going to be a rise again. So we want to be prepared for our clients and for their guests.
That's excellent. I think maybe we could look in the chat and see if there are any questions that we missed that we haven't covered. I want to make sure everyone is getting the information that they need and want as they're planning their joyous occasion. I know we
do have a question in the chat. In September, what day would be least expensive, Saturday or Sunday?
Excellent. And I don't know who wants
yeah, well, I can say from our perspective, when you're 3 to 4 months out, quite frankly, either day, if it's open, we would be offering the same considerations because it's relatively short term. A general rule of thumb is that Saturdays are the most expensive with all vendors, general rule of thumb. But if you said to me right now, I've got a wedding I want to do with you in September on a Saturday, I consider that a short-term great opportunity. If I still have availability, I would quite frankly even offer some considerations because I want to continue to fill short-term. My compression right now is the spring of next year. I have very little availability on the Saturdays, so I'm pushing things to Fridays and Sundays where I can offer a little bit of a better value.
Excellent. And that is great inside information, audience members.
Yeah. I do want to comment on one thing that Ricardo said earlier, and this is a little off topic, but you said that at the initial meeting, or I think Karina said that Ricardo kind of just sat by and read his book and just nodded. Well, I've been married for 39 years and that rule still applies. So I wasn't asked my advice on a happy marriage, but I will tell you that you're on the right track, my friend.
I will say though that there was quite the opposite when we met with our DJ. I was the one that kind of sit back, and he was the director there. So I think that's also something is know as your partner, as you're going through this, your strengths and what meetings you want to take the lead in and what meetings the other one wants to take the lead in. Because I think that also helps you get things done, I think, for music and drinks and things like that. Ricarlo is definitely taking the lead there. And I was like, you know what, they're going to love what they eat and what they drink. And he had very specific points to make, and I think that also helped too. But there was a lot of, I think he read probably like 4 or 5 books over the time.
Well, you bring up an interesting point. Is all of us on the panel have been in situations where there might not be a consensus amongst the couple or the parents or whomever's involved. So we have to learn how to navigate, those kinds of conversations so that everyone does feel, as they should, that they are a contributor, and every voice should be heard. But at some point, we're going to say somebody needs the final vote. So happy wife, happy life, my friend.
My book.
Rhonda, we have some questions regarding negotiating, okay?
Okay.
We have a question in the chat. Do they have any tips on negotiating a contract with a venue? Suggestions on COVID clauses?
Who wants to tackle? Oh, Cecily.
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, I would recommend that there is, so most venues, I don't want to say all, definitely most hotels will have a force majeure section of your contract. It's a broad section that covers a lot. And until 2 years ago, we had no idea that pandemic would fall into that. But it basically says if there's some reason that you legally cannot have this wedding, that you are protected. That it's not at any fault of your own, and the venue will work with you, whatever that looks like. And so I would make sure in whatever you're signing that you have a solid force majeure contract in there, or clause in your contract. It looks different ways for different vendors, but you want to make sure that if we, God forbid, have a resurgence, that you are not going to be penalized. I've heard some horror stories about what has happened in the past 2 years with folks, venues who legally could not move forward, but kept deposits. You want to make sure that you're covered with that. Here at the hotel, we worked with either refunding full deposits or working to find a new date further in the future that we could just shift everything to. But you want to know going in, weddings are not cheap, that you're protected. And that's true for anything. I mean, force majeure covers hurricanes, and it covers strikes, and it covers a lot of things, but make sure you've got a good clause in there.
That's an excellent point. Anyone else? Vera, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I actually can second that, because I think we found ourselves in, unknown waters when everything came to a screeching halt and everybody came and wanted their money refunded because nobody could go anywhere. And so I think everybody has learned something through this pandemic, not just from an operator base, but also on the traveler base. So protect yourself. I mean, definitely, whatever you purchase, make sure you have insurance, be it as part of a force majeure clause or be it a separate insurance. It's highly recommended. Sort of little point on negotiating prices. So, I mean, there are always good deals around. It always depends on, again, when you travel or where you want to go and how early you book something. The airlines usually have better deals if you book early. So you don't need to negotiate with the airline that way, but they will have some sales out if you can plan ahead. And as long as you have that insurance that you can cancel and get your money back, then it is okay to go ahead and book something if you have your heart set on going somewhere, be it domestic in the US or be it somewhere in the world.
Excellent advice. Ms. Jacqueline, do you have anything to add, or?
I think what was just said is important. Definitely looking over your contract and making sure that you read it thoroughly, that you know exactly what you're getting and what you're not getting, and that they are flexible. Again, everyone has to be flexible because of what we've just gone through, and you'll know that when you're working with them, if they are flexible and they're willing to work with you. And so really, I'd say everything that everyone has said, I would agree certainly with them.
Excellent. And I think we have one more question from the chat, Ms. Jessica.
That is correct. Building off of these COVID clauses, does anyone have advice for any military couples? For example, if my partner gets reassigned and has to deploy before the wedding happens, how can we prepare for that with vendors?
Our policy would be what we would consider anything that's a life cycle or life altering event within a family is we offer just a 100% postponement to a date that works for everybody. It's a little tricky when it's, 2 weeks ahead, but we just believe that if there's something that has impacted life cycle or life event, and certainly military service falls into that, that we would offer a postponement. We would not refund the money if it was, relatively close in, but we would offer a full postponement with no penalty.
Thank you for that, Larry. We do have another question. They're starting to kind of trickle in now. To our panelists, what time of year is considered wedding season? So what time of year would be quieter for weddings for someone trying to have options out there and perhaps trying to save some money?
Say now, July and August. People are not planning as much, but it picks up back up in September. And I think those are, and it's hot during that time, but you probably have some better options during that time, I would say.
What's interesting is we used to say in this region, January, February, July, and August were typically the 4 slower, at least for our company, the 4 slower days. July and August actually this year is extremely busy because people kind of, pushed everything and then they pulled the trigger. Within the last 10 weeks, everybody's pulling the trigger for various size parties. I think personally in 2022, there's going to be less ways to answer that question. So I think what you do is you flat out ask your venue or your planner, tell me what your current calendar looks like for the first quarter, second quarter of 2022. I'm looking for an opportunity to use you or use your venue or use your services, but I'm looking for a shoulder date, something that's not going to be a prime date for you. I then can actually look and tell you what it's going to be for 2022. I then think in 2023, it'll settle back to the more normalcy of January, February, July, and August, at least for us, are considered our shoulder periods where there's more value for you.
So excellent. Thank you, Larry.
I have another one. What is considered booking early? Some of our clients out there and guests are wondering, what is 6 months early? Is 2 years early? What is it that you would consider an early booking window?
I use the term short-term booking. Anything that's 90 days or in is short-term, and if I have a date available, you're going to get extra value from me. Anything beyond 3 months, 3 to 9, you're going to get good value. But anything after 9 months out, you're going to pay the rack rate. You're going to pay my prevailing rate because I'm holding inventory, for my core business. Hopefully that answers the question. So if you're ready to pull the trigger on something within the next 90 days, I think any of us would love the opportunity to fill a hole, essentially. Doesn't sound sexy, but that's basically we're filling a void.
Cecily, were you gonna jump in?
Yeah.
Sorry, say that again.
I didn't know. It looked like you wanted to weigh in on that question.
Yeah, I would agree. For us, early bookings are now 23. Agree with Larry. If you're looking to book in 90 days, absolutely, we'll work with you to get you in. I will say our fall and winter is packed. So there aren't a lot of holes, but if we do have them, we'd be happy to fill them.
Thank you. That concludes our questions from the chat. Rhonda, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Jessica. I just was reading some other, making sure I think we answered those. But I would like to thank everyone and see if we could go through our panel if anyone has closing remarks. And I will start with our couple, Karina and Ricarlo.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you for having us be a part of this. It's always nice to do something like this and hear kind of the other side, people who are just trying to do something that we had spent a little bit of time working on. So thank you so much for including us, and go Terps.
Yeah, I think one thing, I guess a bit of advice, but also just something as I've reflected on the experience and the process for us, now that we were kind of 2 months out and wrapping up that part of our life, is the process of planning a wedding is still, you're still living through that. And so you are still, the holidays are still there. You're still going on date nights. You're still seeing friends, and those big moments of finding your dress or the thing that you'll wear and going to those catering meetings and doing your tasting, those are just as important as your big day. And I think when you think of this experience of planning your wedding, sometimes you just kind of want to get it done and make your decisions. But remember that within those moments of going to see your DJ and talking through that part of the day, or going to find the thing that you will wear for that day, that is also important. And to cherish those moments, whether you do have family there or friends there, because those things do make memories and you'll keep those with you. And then the last piece of advice is, as you go through this, just remember your priorities. Remember, as you meet with your vendors, that you feel cared for. We felt so well cared for throughout the process by our vendors that we want to hang out with them. I don't know how many times I've emailed like our connections at like the chapel or our DJ, and we're like, hang out with us. We love you. We don't want this to end, because we felt so well cared for. And I think that makes the whole planning journey a journey, and it doesn't make it a chore. It doesn't make it a checklist. It makes it something really nice to remember and to lean back on, because those moments also matter. And remember, it's one day within your love story, and to kind of stick to your guns, know what you want, know what you don't want, and your day will be beautiful. And we're happy to share our vendor list or share anything else with you all. I think our contact information will be shared. So thank you, Rhonda, and the Alumni Center for Alumni Association for including us this afternoon.
Thank you. Ms. Vera, any closing remarks?
Yes, so if somebody wants to jump in this 90-day gig that Larry was mentioning, the University of Maryland Alumni Association is offering a couple of scheduled trips. So we're going to Peru this year still, we're going to Iceland, and also a New Year's event in Austria. So if that's something that would be of interest, this is available. And then for next year, what's planned is a trip to Egypt as well as a trip to Italy. If you want to, create your own event, we have a special groups department, and they will be happy to design your destination wedding with you. Thank you very much for inviting me and for giving me the opportunity to talk a little bit about what we do.
Thank you. Ms. Jacqueline?
Well, thank you. Thank you again to everyone, the panelists and all the guests, for having me today. I would just say, first and foremost, again, just have fun with the process. Just relax and, write out what you want, your vision, your dream of what you want. And again, discussing it with your vendors. And, we've had to be more creative ourselves as event planners. And we want what you want, and that's to give you your dream wedding and to make every little element be in that wedding. And it can still happen, even with us having gone through COVID. We can still make it magical for you. We can still make it intimate for you. We can make it whatever you want, but just have fun during the process, and invite your family to be along with you in this process, to enjoy this with you. So.
Excellent. Thank you. Mr. Larry?
I just think that, you're going to get our contact information. I think use us as, quote unquote, ask the expert. If you're home one night and you want to text me and say, what about this? What about that? Or send me an email. I love doing what I do. My team loves doing what we do. And everybody on this panel just wants to make sure that you get some help along the way, whether you use the Classic Catering people or you decide to do something in your home and have a family member cater. Ask us questions. We're a resource of, we're here for you to answer the questions. Google, use us. Don't be shy, don't be afraid. I personally love to answer questions and help folks through the process.
Excellent, thank you, Larry. And I'm gonna end with Ms. Cecily as our sponsor. Thank you so much to the hotel at the University of Maryland. Cecily, any parting words?
Goodness, thank you for letting us partner with you on this. Yes, I think what I would say is choose wisely with your vendors. They're the experts, and rely on them. Be open and honest with them about your expectations and also your means, and then let them give you the suggestions, because not only have they been doing this and they do this for their living, but we have all also spent a lot of time in the last 2 years thinking through how to make weddings amazing during COVID, and how to pivot and how to manage all of this crazy. And I say that to say, just rely on folks, ask the questions, ask your vendors what they think, and let them give you the feedback, because we live it every day. I'm sure things that all of your vendors have thought of that you might not have, and we're here to be your partners and make the day a success.
Excellent, thank you. And on that note, that concludes our How to Plan a Wedding Post-COVID. And I just want to take a moment to thank all of you for attending this seminar, the webinar with us, as well as a special heartfelt thank you to our panelists. We've enjoyed you. Thank you for all the insider tips. And just for everyone, know that we will be sending out, because Larry volunteered, I'm sure as everyone else has, we will be sending out the contact information of our panelists, and please reach out, because as they all have mentioned, we are really here to help. We all love what we do. We all love joy. We all love weddings. So thank you, and thank you. And we will see you on the next webinar, and go Terps.